Hi everyone, so there's an interesting rumour flying around about the Samsung Galaxy S6 range, the S6 and the S6 Edge, that Samsung have not sold through as many as they expected during this initial launch period, and they're cutting manufacturing by 16%. Now, it doesn't say which device might be being cut, and I doubt very much they're going to be cutting equally across both devices. There's also the issue that, in my opinion, we've actually reached peak smartphone now. And that's essentially the point where everybody who has a smartphone has a smartphone. And so then we're dealing with kind of the upgrades. Now, we aren't necessarily going to see as many upgrades each year as the previous year, because we've also reached peak CPU as well. That kind of point where, for the majority of users, the performance of the hardware they have in their hand is absolutely fine. It's not like the early days of the iPhone or even the early days of Android devices where practically every year we were doubling performance or tripling performance in some cases. What we really have found now is we've kind of hit the baseline where the vast majority of apps will perform fantastically well on 3-year-old hardware. And so the reason that people would feel like they need to upgrade, my device is getting slower, is kind of falling away. And that is going to start hitting upgrade numbers across the board. We're seeing it at Apple, we're seeing it at Samsung, we're seeing it everywhere. So when I hear of any of the manufacturers in the mobile industry saying we're going to cut production, I think to myself, yep, that sounds about right. At the end of the day, no one is selling through units in exactly the same way as they were 5 years ago or even 2 years ago. The market has now matured and it has reached saturation point. When we consider whether Samsung are selling 40 million units or just 30 million units, I don't think it really matters. They are still the number one handset manufacturer by a long way, and they don't have a huge amount of competition out there. Look what HTC have done this year, failed miserably. Really, it comes down to LG in the Android pool and Apple in, well, their own pool, let's face it. The only competition Samsung really has is from Apple and LG, and ultimately from itself and its own screw-ups. So I don't think it's a major disaster that we're hearing about a cut in the number of units coming out of Samsung, potentially. All it really is a recognition that they may have overestimated slightly where the sell-through was going to be this year, but more importantly because we are starting to see this general slowdown in the upgrade cycle.